G'day, it has definitely been a while, and today we're going to take a look at a game called Amphetamine for X-Windows systems. It was originally made back in 1999 by Jonas Spillman, who made it originally for Windows. It was later ported by Lucas Lohra, using STL to Unix-like systems such as Linux and Solaris. Amphetamine is essentially a run-and-gun game with quite a lot of difficult platforming in it. Believe it or not, the story is actually based on The Lord of the Rings. It's not set in Middle-earth for some reason, but Frodo the Little Hobbit is trying to eliminate evil, and the evil comes in the form of various monsters that you have to fight. And you get these magical weapons with which you can fight them with. The story doesn't really play much of a role in the game, so you can play it without ever knowing anything about it. And the story is only really available in the Windows help file that comes with the original version of the game, so Linux users would never have been aware of it. There are 8 magic weapons, the first 4 of which I've managed to see in game. We'll get to the reason why I didn't see the others later. Let's start with the first 4 that I did see. The first one is called Anduril. It's basically just a sword, and you can use it for short-range melee combat. Nothing too special there. The second one is called the File. It is basically a projectile weapon that fires directly. It's very useful. The third weapon is called La Bacchetta Magica. This weapon is kind of like the ball in Mr. Do. It fires diagonally and down, and the projectile will bounce around for a short time before impacting on a wall. It's useful for hitting enemies that are around corners or in a place where you can't normally reach them with the file. The last of the weapons that I got to use was Boromir's bow. It's a direct fire weapon much like the file, but when the projectiles contact, they explode, and so you can actually hurt yourself if you hit a target that's too close to you. The weapons that I didn't get to use come after a point where I got stuck in the game and couldn't progress any further, but those are actually mostly just sort of improvements on the existing weapons we've already seen. So they're very similar but not quite the same. Of course, you use these weapons on various monsters in the game, which come in a few varieties. The most basic one that I've seen the most of are the orcs. These guys just move around and shoot projectiles directly at you. These projectiles are quite accurate, so you either have to be prepared to dodge them or hide behind something to protect yourself. Other creatures, such as the creepers, are not so dangerous. These are just simple little bugs that crawl towards you. It's quite easy to take them out with the sword. Some of the other creatures are a bit more intelligent, such as what I think is called the Sakrak, which is kind of a weird word, but this one can jump and avoid your projectiles as well as shoot at you. These guys are able to traverse the level a little bit, so it can be difficult to avoid them. The dragonflies, on the other hand, are kind of like the creeper in that they have no projectile weapons. They rely on the stealth of being mostly transparent in order to attack you, so it's just basically a case of keep an eye out for them and hit them with a sword when they get too close. If you see a black orc, it is actually very similar to the standard orc, just that it fires an explosive projectile. I assume it's able to hurt itself with these projectiles, but I've not seen it happen in practice. Again, because I got stuck halfway through the game, I think, I didn't get to see all of the bad guys. I can tell you from the help file that some of them are named after bad guys in The Lord of the Rings, such as the Nazgul and Trolls. The boss monster at the end of the game is called Warg, but that's pretty much all I can tell you about him. The main reason I got stuck actually has nothing to do with the monsters in the game. I found for the most part that I could fight them off eventually after learning how they work. The main thing that made the game so difficult and got me stuck was the level design and the physics engine. The levels are full of platforming sections where you have to be very precise with your jumps, and usually falling off means you fall to your death, so you end up having to repeat a lot of sections, which easily get very frustrating. The physics engine on top of this makes things much more difficult because of the way it works. You get this momentum built up and you can easily overshoot a platform that you're aiming for. Often I would land on the platform and then slide right on off the other side into the abyss. Add to this the difficulty of getting through some gaps. Where the gap is, say, as wide as your player, it's difficult to hit it without bumping your head and just falling back down again. Additionally, the physics engine seems to be sensitive to the amount of processing power that you have. I've found on my more modern machines that it can be nearly impossible to get through some gaps or make some jumps because of the CPU power changing the way the physics engine behaves. My suspicion is that the physics engine uses the current frame rate to determine what the smallest delta should be. And if the frame rate is high enough, I think what's happening is it's getting a float underrun, losing some data. This would make your character lose some velocity that it should have, and if you're moving slow enough, you may not move at all. To test this theory, I decided to fire up the Windows version of Amphetamine in 86 box, with it configured to be a Pentium 166 MHz. The documentation suggested a 200 MHz machine, so this was a pretty close approximation to what it should run on back in the day. If you pay close attention to the footage here, you will notice that the player does seem to jump higher in this configuration for the game, so my suspicions may be true. If so, limiting the frame rate somehow would be a good solution for making it work better on newer machines. Although I think realistically the physics engine probably needs a little bit of a rework. Also, if you are inclined, you can fiddle with a configuration file to change the physics parameters. I would suggest a slight increase to the jumping velocity and also to the friction to slow you down faster. That's all I have to say about Amphetamine. Back when I was doing a bit of research for the game, I didn't really find all that much available about it online, but I did find this nifty video by a guy called Bad Geek. It's kind of funny and it shows you the latest stages of the game, so I suggest you watch that if you are interested in more. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.